Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Allianz Partners.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second Wednesday in June. Coming to you this week from the Prince de Gaulle Hotel in Paris. Took the Eurostar across the channel after we are visiting in London for the Queen's Jubilee last week. Of course, you know the drill. Give me all your comments and questions on screen here. We'll try to get to them today. A couple of housekeeping notes. Of course, you can always email me to peter@petergreenberg.com with your name, question, phone number, and we will get back to you either on the air live on our radio show, which airs every Saturday from a different location around the world from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your local listings. You can also listen to it streaming live on our website about the same time, petergreenberg.com. Lots of other stuff to talk about, but first, we survived the Queen's Jubilee. She actually made two appearances on the balcony. If you saw the concert and her very funny spoof with Paddington Bear, it reminded us all of what she did with Daniel Craig and James Bond a couple of years ago. It was really quite cool that she could actually make fun of herself. And finally, we found out for the first time in decades, maybe ever, what she carries in her handbag. If you haven't watched it, I'm sure you can find it on a number of social media platforms. One thing I thought was kind of funny, leave it to the British for this. I was crossing the bridge over the Thames the other night to go into South Bank to go see a movie. By the way, I saw the new Tom Cruise movie. It's gotten great reviews. If you're an aviation geek like I am, it's worth every penny. Weak on story, but you don't go to this movie for the story. You don't go to this movie for the love affair. You go to this movie to fly by the seat of your pants, and you do. I saw it in an IMAX theater, which makes all the difference in the world as well. But as I was crossing the bridge to South Bank over the river, I noticed this sign on the wall. Can you see it? Take a look. This is the British for you. It says anti-graffiti paint has been applied to this asset. And of course, they put the sign on it. Sort of defeats the purpose. But anyway, I found the humor in that. I don't think the British had a sense of humor about it, but at least I thought I'd share that with you. Now, let's get to serious news. The pilot shortage is getting worse. You may remember over the last couple of weeks and months, the airlines thought they would solve it by doing what? Preemptively canceling some flights. And that didn't solve it. Then some airlines went even further and said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to cancel routes. Remember JetBlue, 27 routes canceled? That didn't quite do it either. So what happened earlier this week? American Airlines came face to face with reality. They didn't cancel flights. They didn't cancel routes. They grounded 100 of their planes. That's about a tenth of their fleet. And the reason? They had to admit it. They did not have the pilots to fly them. And we're still only in June, boys and girls. This is not good. And it's going to get worse because it's not just the pilots, it's the people who work under the wing, the ground handlers, the baggage loaders, the maintenance guys. It's getting crazy. British Airways, as I'm speaking to you right now, is offering anybody a 1,000-pound bonus just to work on the ground. EasyJet has gone one step further, offering a 1,000-pound bonus if they just stay through the summer. This is crazy, and it's going to get worse. Air traffic control centers have a staffing problem. TSA has a staffing problem. You put all those together, and you don't even throw in weather, and you've got the perfect storm. And it's going to get worse. Of course, the flights that are flying, completely full, and the airfares have gotten even worse. I've seen round-trip fares between LA and New York, coach, $1,200. That's crazy. One piece of advice, I may have shared it with you last week, I'm going to do it again. If you're going to book a round-trip ticket, do yourself a favor, be a contrarian. Price it out, don't book it, then go back and price out two separate one-way fares on two separate airlines, like Delta from LA to New York and JetBlue from New York back to LA. Using that $1,200 model, I found one fare on Delta from LA to New York as a one-way at $470 and a return flight on JetBlue for $380. That totals $850, $350 less than the $1,200 round trip. So let's get creative here. I'm not going to say it's going to work every time, but you'd at least use it to check it out to see if it does work on your flights. That doesn't have to be on the transcons. It can be on any routing you want. Okay. And on, if you're going to book it on the web, you know how I feel about that. You check off multi-city tickets when you do that. All right. Because then it comes out as 2 separate one-way tickets. All right. So we have the problem with the pilots. We have the problem with the baggage loaders. Earlier this week, one pilot actually left the cockpit, went down the tarmac to help them load the bags on the plane so they could even depart. Not even on time, just depart. There's a little thing I want to show you. Let's put it up right now. Know what that is? That's not your friend. Maybe. So many people don't want to check bags that they're still trying to take them to the gates. And planes are being delayed because recently I counted 53 separate bags waiting to get one of those pink tags on a Delta flight. They were just in the jetway because people were able to get them through the conveyor belts at security. They didn't want to pay the checked baggage fee. There's a limit to how many bags each plane can hold. I'm going to pull up a chart. Next week I'll show it to you. That I found at a Delta gate, took a photograph of it. It wasn't meant for me. It was meant for gate agents by aircraft type, right? 737, 757, 767, A330, all the planes that Delta flies, A350, showing the number of passengers that each plane can carry and the number of bags that can actually fit in the overhead compartments. It's crazy. And it tells you everything you need to know about carry-on bags because in a best case scenario, any plane can only hold 1 bag for every 2 passengers in the overhead compartment. That's how bad it is. But that's how bad it's always been. Now, people who don't want to pay for checked bags and are sneaking them onto the jetways to get them quote unquote gate checked, we compound the problem because no plane's leaving on time anyway because they got to load all those bags at the gate. It's a little crazy. So we'll be following that story, but I wanted to show you this famous gate claim bag check because when I see it, I know we're not going to be leaving on time. All right, moving along. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. First of all, let's let you know that while I'm in Paris, we're broadcasting our radio show here from the Prince de Galles, and then we're traveling again to another distant remote location where we'll talk to you next week. The show last week in London was great. We had a great time with thousands of deranged monarchy fans, including my radio producer, Amanda Morris, who could not be restrained. And I mean, she really is out of control when it comes to it. But forgetting that, she has recovered and we're moving on. Let's go to say hello to some people here before we answer some more questions. All right. Someone's saying hello from Harriet and Jim. Now they're in Portugal. All right. Tony says on United at a Prescott, Arizona to LAX, they required everyone to check claim bags before boarding. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. But they're going to check them for you at the gate. That's going to delay the departure. Okay. All right. We're going to scroll up over here. Okay. Mambos to Isaac in Tanzania. I'm thinking. All right. Okay. Here we go. Robin saying hello from Williamsburg, Virginia, as she always does. Lorena says, back from a 4,400-mile trip through Madison, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, North Dakota, Yellowstone, Bozeman, Grand Teton, Mount Rushmore, Custer, South Dakota. Nice wildlife, but ready to return to Kenya. Hey, a road trip in America is, I live for that. Even though the roads and the highways are going to be crowded this summer, despite the high gas prices, I know you had a great time. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, Peter Christian saying on Wisconsin. We know what that means, a fellow Badger. Greetings from Gambia. All right, haven't had a Gambia person lately. Greetings from Gambia right back. All right, Dodoma in Tanzania is saying hi. That's not a person, that's the official capital, by the way. Okay, Barbara says we have 4 flights this summer, and I'm nervous as heck about flights being canceled, especially at the last minute. Friends got notification at 4 a.m. that their 8 a.m. flight was canceled. Yikes. All right, I said this last week, I'm gonna say it again. Let's assume for the sake of this discussion that your departing airport is not a major airline hub or base. So it's not Atlanta, it's not Chicago, it's not Dallas, right? So it's not Delta, United, or American. Let's hold on to that thought. Let's say you're leaving from, let's say Sheboygan, Wisconsin, or let's say you're leaving from Moline, Illinois, or let's say you're leaving from Memphis, for that matter. You want to pick the very first departure of the day when you make your reservation. And then the day before you leave, call the airline and say, I'm on flight 303. I made that number up. I'm on flight 303. It's leaving at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Can you tell me if the aircraft assigned to that flight overnights in Memphis the night before our flight? And if the answer is yes, it does, you have a 90% chance that the crew stayed with the plane and will be on that flight with you the next morning. Now, the only way it gets a little crazy is the last 10 days of the month. Pre-pandemic, airlines were always challenged with basically mustering enough crew to fly the last 10 days of the month, because crews either flew their maximum number of hours and couldn't fly anymore, or they flew their minimum number of hours and didn't want to fly anymore. And that's when they had, the junior flight attendants and the junior pilots, if you'll excuse the expression, on reserve, and they got called in. Well, there aren't many reserves now because they don't have enough people to begin with. So the last 10 days of the month, nasty. By the way, when was Memorial Day weekend? Would that occur over the last 10 days of the month? It did. So be aware of that too, okay? Camilla's saying bonjour from Tucson. Okay, let's see. A lot of Tanzania folks today. We love you guys. Katrina's saying bonjour from Alabama. By the way, speaking of Alabama, Travel Detective Season 7 is now on the air on PBS. Check your local listings. It's also available on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. If you want to know what's on Travel Detective 7, our latest episode, here's a little sample.
This week on The Travel Detective, it was just a small bridge in Selma, Alabama, but it quickly became a major turning point in the U.S. civil rights movement, leading to landmark voting rights legislation. Today, the Edmund Pettus Bridge is a must-stop on the civil rights trail, and we'll take that journey.
I'm Peter Greenberg with a special report from Alabama on the next edition of The Travel Detective on PBS. Check your local listings.
All right. Thank you, guys. I hope you got a chance to watch that. If you can't find it on your local markets, you can go right to Amazon Prime and see that whole series there, especially that episode, which is airing this week. Okay. Heather's saying hello from Toronto, heading to Paris soon. All right. By the way, everybody's heading to Paris soon. I know I'm biased, but I'll say it. Paris is always a good idea. Okay. Okay, Melanie says, as a Brit living in Miami, I loved every minute of the Jubilee celebrations. My husband was there in person, had a blast, came home last night on AA, only 137 people on board in economy, but first in business completely full, and brought me a stuffed corgi. a real stuffed corgi or a toy? Let's be honest. Okay, God save the Queen. Hey, look, she was cool. 96 years old, 70 years on the throne. Hit the balcony twice. What more can you ask for? And we know it's in her handbag now. Okay. Here we go. Thank you from Rome, from Roseanne. Okay, Arusha's weighing in Tanzania. Nice to talk to you guys. Okay, what do we have? Oh, I'm going to scroll back up here. More people have been hitting in. Give me a second here while we go back up. Here we go. Tanya says, Apple AirPods are great for tracking your luggage. Yep, technology's everything. Okay. Colleen Casey saying, greetings from Oakland, California, home of Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Go Warriors. Hey, he's the three-point king. You got to love him. Greetings from New Hampshire to you, Sandy. Andy says, here we go. As a ramp agent, we hate the gate claims as well. Well, Andy, why do you think the gate claims are as much as they are? It's because your management insisted on charging people for checked bags. I'll make you a bet. How many gate claim bags are there at Southwest? 0? It's because they don't charge for checked baggage. You can't have it both ways, but I feel your pain because I've seen what you have to go through as a gate agent to get that plane pushed back on time with all those bags in the jetway. Okay, let's keep going here. Tim says, greetings from Atlanta. Where can I find cheap last-minute Delta flights? Well, Tim, you just said the conflicting words, cheap and last minute. Airline tickets aren't priced that way. Cheap and long booked in advance, yes. Cheap last minute. In the post-pandemic world right now, where they're reducing capacity and reducing frequency, hard to find. Okay. Robert says, I saw the Queen in the mid-'80s when she was in her carriage. We had a VHS camera on at the Queen Victoria Monument. What was the silliest thing, for those of you who watched it? What was the silliest thing in that whole event, that whole 4-day event? It was the golden carriage coming down the road. The Queen wasn't in it. They had some kind of avatar in there, and people loved it. That was the Disneyland moment that said, stop this. This is crazy. You know, it's either real or it's not. The carriage with nobody in it would have been easier. But with the avatar in there and the hologram, please. Okay. All right. Robert's saying, greetings from South Florida. Any updates on CDC COVID tests for U.S. reentry? I wish I did. The lobbying efforts have been intensified. It still makes no sense. I want the United States government to answer this question. And by the way, I'm not being political here. I'm trying to be pragmatic. Remember, I'm the guy who said, wear your masks. I'm the guy who played by the rules. But listen to the inconsistency here. If I want to fly tomorrow from Paris to New York, I have to get a COVID test 24 hours prior to my flight. It's got to be negative. If I get on a ship tomorrow and sail to New York, I'm not required to do that. I just get off the ship in New York. If I'm in Canada or Mexico and drive across the border to New York, I'm not required to have a test. Where is the logic here? By the way, that was a rhetorical question. The answer is it's not. So count me on the side of the people saying, if you're fully vaccinated, at least you don't need to do a test. Italy, we talked about this last week, Italy relaxed all the rules for entry, including even if you were not vaccinated. I think that's a little ridiculous, but that's another story. But for us, the last two holdouts that I know of requiring pre-departure testing are Portugal, the kingdom of a dead empire, and the United States, which is trying to be a dead empire right now. Let's get real here. Let's end those testing requirements simply because there's been no consistency. And look, the key here is not the number of cases. We have to be aware of that. We have to be concerned about that. We have to deal with that. We have to manage that. The key here is the number of hospitalizations and the number of deaths in a world where more and more people are getting sufficiently vaccinated. That's the key. And as long as you watch those numbers, we can manage this virus and we can travel. Okay. Joan wants to know, why don't they turn them away at TSA? It should cost double to gate check a bag. Well, look, if your bag can fit in the conveyor belt, it's not the TSA's deal, right? If it's a steamer trunk, you got some explaining to do. So it's not the TSA's fault. The TSA can't enforce that rule. The airlines made the rule, they're going to have to enforce it. But as we all know, they're not consistently enforcing that either. Remember the 53 bags I talked to you about at the gate at Delta? They were checked for free. I've seen other airlines make you pay. They've got their mobile apps right there to take your credit card. Which one's it going to be? Now, let's be honest about checked bag fees. It's the same deal as hotel resort fees. It's a tax dodge. And it's a way for airlines to make more money than they actually make on the sale of tickets. Here's the deal. An airline ticket is taxed at an extremely high federal excise tax rate. In some cases, a $100 ticket, about $61 goes to taxes. So the airlines aren't making much. A $50 bag fee is taxed at 8%. So let's do the comparison, right? They're making more money on the bags. It's the same thing with resort fees at hotels. A room rate is taxed at a pretty high, 21% in some cities, occupancy tax. But a resort fee is not a room rate. It's a fee. We're back to that 8 or 7% mark. That's where they're making their money. So I'm not denying anybody the opportunity to make money, but at least be honest about how you're making the money and where it's going. That way we get to be a better judge of how we approach where we spend our money. Fair enough? Okay. Jew is now in Malaysia. Hello, Jew. Birgit Raymond saying hello from Bayshore. Hello to Bayshore. I'll see you guys soon. Looking forward to it. Hello from Simon at the Lanesboro. Simon, who runs the concierge desk there. If you want to know London, you need to know Simon. Simon, nice to see you, man. All right. Okay. Here we go again. Huntington Beach is weighing in with Adrian. Hello to Tanzania from Mulukazi. Stephen Graves is saying, greetings from Chicago. Okay, there you go. Maxine is in Boca Raton. Marjorie is in, PBI, Palm Beach International. All right. Okay, Christine wants to know, when was the last time you've gotten through on a phone line of any airline? Shall I tell you the real answer? Every single day. Is it because I have some kind of double secret handshake phone number? No, it's what time you call, right? You call between 7 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon, you'll be waiting. Call it 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, and you got a shot, okay? It's worth staying up late for it. You'll get to talk to a human being. Now, let me just say this. If the person on the other end of the phone doesn't know the difference between Dallas and Dulles, you got to hang up the phone and call back, because you're giving a direct indication there that you're running into trouble, okay? Okay, Joy wants to know, I want to go to Greece the end of September. Should I purchase air now? No. Here's why. The airlines are in sort of a delusionary period right now. Did I say delusionary? Starting to sound like George W. here. Delusional. Why is that? Because their bookings are so strong that they're pricing things through the roof. But when do those bookings fall off a cliff? Around the 15th of September. But they're in denial right now, so they haven't adjusted the prices. Wait till around July 15th. When they see how those other forward bookings in September are not materializing, you'll see the fares drop. Okay. Catherine says, good morning from Sierra Madre. Okay. And Brian says, hello from LaGuardia. I hope you're not living there. All right, let's keep going here. Gail says, I want to clarify. Oh, we're flying to New Orleans for a New Year's Eve riverboat cruise. When is the best time to book our flights? Sorry for any confusion. Well, this is a different story than the September question I just had, because everybody knows when Thanksgiving is, everybody knows when Christmas is, and of course we know when New Year's Eve is, and those prices go up in New Orleans because everybody wants to go down and party. So you didn't tell me when you're going to fly to New Orleans. Are you flying on New Year's Eve, or are you flying 5 or 6 days earlier? There are a couple of open windows in there. Let me know, Gail, and I'll try to help you. Okay. Here we go. Deborah's saying, hey, from Detroit, do you think American flights will go down next year? Are you talking about the prices? They will. They will. But right now, they have no reason to. It's the law of supply and demand kicking in, and you're losing is what's happening. Thank you for your nice note, Deborah. And, oh, it's time for our trivia question. Can't forget that. All right. And it's a little bit of a trick question, but it does have a real answer. What is the oldest airline in the world? We're talking about a commercial airline, and when was it established? Okay, let me know. When was the oldest airline in the world, and when was it established? I have another question I'll ask you too. When that's done, what was, emphasis on the word was, the oldest airline in North America? Okay, so we got two questions today. Oldest airline in the world, when was it established? And what was the oldest airline in North America? And both answers are probably going to surprise you. All right, let's scroll down here. Okay, everybody now is guessing wrong. Brian says TWA in 1927, not even close. Robert saying Qantas. American saying, Gail saying American, wrong. Adrian saying Pan Am, wrong. I'm loving this. Somebody saying, Lee saying Lufthansa, wrong. So far, we'll get back. Oh, someone else is saying Delta, really wrong. Okay, Robert wants to know, on a cruise next June, want to fly into Istanbul on Turkish Air and out of Rome on Delta, as they both have nonstops to Boston. What's the best way to book this? Well, I was just talking about this. You do a one-way flight to Istanbul from Boston, and a one-way flight on Delta from Rome to Boston on the way back. And compare that, don't book it yet, compare that with a multi-city ticket, or what we call an open jaw ticket, right? So it'd be Boston, Istanbul, Rome, Boston on one airline, which you're not going to get anyway, because Turkish Air doesn't fly Rome to Boston unless you want to go back through Istanbul. So lots of options here, but compare it with 2 one-ways as opposed to trying to book a round trip. Okay. Someone said British Airways, wrong. Robin says Hawaiian Air, wrong. Okay. Oh, Susan wants to know, what are the COVID requirements to travel to Barcelona? Proof of vaccination. There you go. Okay. Andy thought he had the answer. And Andy, you're wrong. I'll help you out, Andy. You're half right. Raymond Bixon said Allegheny. Raymond, you're not going home with the trophy. Sorry. It's not Delta. It's not BA. Gosh, everybody's getting the wrong answer here. Let me give you the question again. Think. The oldest international airline, right? The oldest international airline in the world, right? And when was it established? And then the oldest airline, which was the one that was the oldest airline in North America? Which one was that? All right. All right. Raymond, you're wrong all the day today. Ray's now saying Braniff. No. Hawaiian Air, no. Avianca, no. Pan America, no. Someone said Orville and Wilbur Wright, not an airline. Nice guess. Peter Christensen got it right. Larry Snyder got it right. Mulakazi got it right. And Deborah got it right. Okay, well, now we're getting some right answers on the first question. So I'll give you the answer. The oldest international airline, surprise, surprise, KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines. The year it was established, 1919. All right, that was part 1. Here's part 2. What was the oldest airline in North America? And I'll give you another hint. It had, until it ended, the best safety record of any airline in North America. I'm going to surprise the you-know-what out of you. All right, give me answers. Clearly not TWA. Clearly not, no, not Air Jamaica either. Not Iberia. No. I'm waiting. Let me know. Anybody want to guess one more? We'll move on. Why is everybody still guessing TWA and Pan Am? New. Nope, not Delta either. All right. Nobody's getting it. So I'm going to tell you. Remember the question. The oldest airline in North America, not America, of which is part of North America. But now let's include everybody. The oldest airline in North America, until it failed, was Mexicana. How about that? And it had the best safety record. No one ever guesses that, but it's true. Absolutely true. All right, let's go back to some other questions that you had. Or you know what we'll do now? Let's have some fun. The photo of the week. What a cool photo this is. You got it? Look at that. Wow, don't go in the water. That's Judy Dechter. She shared our photo that she took of the bears at Brooks Falls in the Cotton Mine National Park and Preserve in Alaska. This is from her trip last year in July of 2021. And it was the best day in the falls. And as you can see, as Judy says, the bears were busy. Wow, that's a cool shot. How many people think there were salmon swimming at that moment? They weren't just bathing. Great photo. Thank you, Judy. And if you think your photo is worthy of photo of the week, we certainly think this one was, just send it in, peter@petergreenberg.com, and we'll post it right here on our weekly show. All right, some other questions here. Emma says, I booked a United Airlines flight from Denver to, I believe she says, South Dakota on Friday that had gone up in price $60 from Thursday. I went online on Saturday and it was reduced to the same price it was on Thursday, $60 less. Why do prices go up and down like this by the day? And can I cancel and get the current lower price? Here's the deal. Well, they go up and down every day because of law, supply, and demand, and some phony algorithms that the airlines still depend on to be able to project demand. Most of them don't work. But here's where the airlines made an interesting decision that can actually benefit you. You remember when the airlines eliminated those draconian ticket change fees? So that if you cancel the flight, You don't lose your money. It goes into a fund. So if you cancel that first flight that you paid $60 more for, right? And that money goes into another fund, go back and reserve the new flight at $60 less, pay for it separately, and then you have basically extra money to spend on your next flight. You still save money if you don't mind giving the airlines an interest-free loan for a little bit of time. All right, here's one from Daniel. I don't understand why we have to test to get back into America when we no longer have to COVID test to go into so many countries. When will this rule change? I agree with you 1,000%, Daniel. It makes no sense. I'm a big proponent of the science, of following the science, of embracing public health mandates that make sense. I believe that basically more often than not, the CDC has acted well and in our best interest. But this one, I'm not getting. I'm really not getting it. If I can show proof of vaccination, and I've had 2 boosters, and I can come into Paris, I can come into Italy, I can come into Turkey, I can go to all of the European Union countries except one. That's Portugal. All right? That's 1 out of 36. I have no idea the Portuguese thinking here. Okay? But what's the thinking of the United States, especially when I pointed out the inconsistency of sea and land travel? Makes no sense. So I'm with you. Okay. Elena says, I want to do a cross-country road trip this summer, but with current gas prices, I'm wondering if you think it will cost less to fly. It won't. The best way to do your cross-country road trip this summer is to get 3 friends and amortize the trip, right? If a ticket is $1,000 and you're a family of 4 or 4 friends, that's a $4,000 investment. If the gas is going to cost you $1,000 and you get 3 friends to jump in the car with you, that's $250 each. I failed math in high school, but this basic arithmetic I can do. For the moment, at least, the car wins. Okay. Michelle says, Viking River Cruises are still testing daily for COVID. Do you see this ending anytime soon? Well, what they're doing, I believe, is a rapid antigen test in order to board the ship. And the reason why they're doing it is not because Viking wants to be bad about it or ridiculous about it. It's because the ports that they're going to have to be assured that nobody's tested negative, or they won't let the ship come in. And that denies a lot of other people the experience that they paid for to go on the ship in the first place. So for the moment, that testing will continue. But remember, you're already vaccinated or you couldn't get on the ship to begin with. Second of all, in all the cases I've seen, and I don't think there are any exceptions to this, the people who did test positive on the ship, you were either asymptomatic or mild symptoms. They were quarantined for 3 days on the ship. They were contact traced. Nobody went to the hospital. Nobody died. Those odds I'll play with. I'm on a cruise anytime right now. Okay. Oh, Wade's got a question for you about the Crown Princess. Wade, I don't know the answer to that yet, but we'll get it for you next week if that'll be helpful to you. Okay. Jim says, myself and another colleague have never seen such horrible service out of Amex Platinum. Okay. Well, you know what, Jim? Why don't you email me and tell me exactly what happened? Email me to peter@petergreenberg.com. Give me specifics, incidents, dates, names. Don't just tell me it was some guy named Vern, and let me see what happened. Let me get into that. Okay? All right. Pam says, looking to fly to Rome from Dallas. What's the best airline to get there on? Well, I don't have my OAG in front of me, but I do believe American flies to Milan, and I do believe they fly to Rome, maybe not from Dallas, but maybe from New York. I know they fly Madrid. I know they fly Paris, and they fly London from Dallas. I don't know if they put the Rome flight on for this summer. We'll check into that, okay? Let me come back down here. Okay. Everybody loves Judy's photos. Oh, she's going back to Katmai in a couple of months. Get your camera ready. We want to see more. But something tells you, Judy, you're not going to go back to that same place and see all the bears in the water. But if you do, I want to know what's in the water. Okay. Here we go. Oh, a lot of people love your photos here. Okay. When should I buy a ticket to New Delhi for mid-January? About 54 days out. How about that? Robert wants to know, how does the 270-day European vaccination rule work? If your booster was over 270 days old, Do you need to get another booster to go to Europe? Right now, you do. Okay? There's a 9-month cutoff. If you had your last vaccination or booster more than 270 days ago, more than 9 months ago, a lot of EU countries won't let you in. Some, like Israel, they get a 180-day cutoff. That's 6 months. So if you're eligible for another booster, go get it. Okay. Marcia says she's heading for Italy tomorrow. She hopes I'm enjoying Paris. How could you not? Okay. Marcia says we're flying Turkish versus American to Rome. So you'll be connecting in Istanbul. Give yourself enough time. Okay. Tony says I'm flying on French Bee from Paris to LAX for the first time. What can you tell me about it? Well, believe it or not, on the radio show this week is the CEO of French Bee. So listen up. You'll hear the show. I've flown it. I've flown it from Paris to New York, from Orly to Newark, right? And the cool thing about what they're doing is they're trying to schedule their planes. They're a low-cost carrier. Imagine an A350 with 411 seats. You're packed in there. But I'll bet you, Tony, you're paying a whole lot cheaper fare than you would on some of the other legacy carriers. But what they're trying to do with their arrivals is they're trying to arrive at a time where they're not going to be stuck for a gate, where they're not going to be waiting for other planes to cross runways. So, for example, their flight from Orly to Newark leaves late in the day here, doesn't get to Newark till 9 o'clock at night. All the traffic's gone. And so is the customs. You're not going to wait. It's a perfect time to land. They've done something smart there. But it's a BYO experience. Bring your own good food. Bring along enough downloaded stuff on your iPhone or on your laptop to binge watch a few movies. The cool thing about French Bee is where they fly that you don't realize. They don't just fly from Orly to New York, Newark, or Orly to San Francisco or LAX. They will fly through LAX and San Francisco to Tahiti. And then their real secret route, which I love, is they fly from Paris to Reunion Island out in the Indian Ocean, very close to Mauritius. The French know it. We don't. It's not a heavily populated island. You got social distancing baked in. And if you're looking for really cool beaches and a great experience, come to Paris, go to Reunion Island, and then come on back. Most Americans don't do it. Now you know, now you can do it. Okay? Oh, Tony says much cheaper. All right, Tony, tell me how much cheaper. All right, I want to know. Tell me, okay? Okay. Question, when and how did I do starting to do royal tour programs? How did presidents and different important figures trust you? It's my sparkling personality. Actually, the person who gets all the thanks is the King of Jordan, because he was the first royal tour we did. He and I became friends. We came up with the idea when he was still prince, not when he was king. And when he became king, he kept his promise and said, let's go do it. We did it. And the rest is history. And that, by the way, was 21 years ago. And that show is still, in many cases, still on the air. That was the royal tour of Jordan with King Abdullah II. Okay, let's keep going here. Listen to this. Marcia says she did Turkish business class to Rome 3 months ago, and the fare was half priced compared to American Airlines business class. There you go. Not bad. Let's keep going here. Colleen Casey says Reunion Island is very cool. It is. By the way, how was Reunion Island in the news in the last 2.5 years? Anybody remember? Anybody remember? I'll tell you. Not a pretty story. A metal piece. It's part of a wing element from Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. It was called the wing flapper, washed up on shore. Remember, it's the Indian Ocean. We know that MH370 went in the Indian Ocean. We just don't know where. That was the first solid piece of evidence from that plane. Amazing story. Tony's now weighed in. It was $800 minimum for any other airline flying to Paris. On French Bee, it was $440. That's about half. Not bad. Nicely done. Nicely done. Okay, now, before we get going here, and before I say au revoir, some housekeeping again. First of all, Tanzania, the Royal Tour is airing on PBS with the President of Tanzania. If you can't find it, go right to Amazon Prime or Apple TV Plus. Travel Detective 7 is also airing right now. That's season 7. Again, if you can't find it on PBS in your local markets, not a problem. Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus. Our radio show, Eye on Travel on CBS, airs this Saturday. And from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., please find it. And if you can't, we stream it live right on our website, petergreenberg.com. I hope you have a great week. I hope the pilot shortage gets better, although I'm telling you, we won't really have relief until October. So bring a book. You may need it. Enjoy reading War and Peace. And in the meantime, au revoir from Paris. Have a great week. I'll see you next week from another location that will keep us a surprise. Here's a hint. It's not in the United States. See you guys next week.